Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Radiant Central, and I'm your host Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So yesterday I did a video about the 3 biggest mistakes I made when I was transitioning off of a raw vegan diet. As everyone knows, I was on a raw vegan diet for 4 years, and I developed a vitamin B12 deficiency while being on the raw vegan diet. And I then went on to a whole food diet incorporating animal meats and fish and seafood and animal products in order to bring my vitamin B12 levels back up to a healthy range. Before I was on a raw vegan diet, I was a vegetarian for 20 years. So most of my life I was on a plant-based diet. And while I was a vegetarian for those 20 years, I never had any issues with the B12 deficiency. I was tested every few years and it was always at a healthy range. And so yesterday when I was doing this video about the 3 biggest mistakes I made while transitioning off of a raw vegan diet, there was a little bit of a discussion on YouTube as to why I chose to eat meats again. And someone had posted a question, which was a fantastic question, as to why I didn't just return to being a vegetarian. You know, I didn't have a vitamin B12 deficiency when I was a vegetarian, so obviously that was working for me. And fantastic question. So I thought I'd address that question today. There's 2 reasons why I didn't return to being a vegetarian. The first reason being, why did I go on to a raw vegan diet to begin with? The main reason why I went on to a raw vegan diet was because I had polycystic ovarian syndrome that I wanted to reverse. That, and I had severe depression most of my life, okay, since I was a child. And it was always something that I've been always trying to work on to improve, and I was hoping too that the raw vegan diet would help that. So with the polycystic ovarian syndrome, the symptoms that I had was I wasn't getting a period for 2 to 3 years at a time. I wasn't ovulating. I was pretty much infertile. My ovaries were covered in cysts, both ovaries. I had a hormone imbalance. I had adult acne. Those were pretty much the symptoms I was getting from polycystic ovarian syndrome. And this was while I was on a vegetarian diet. And so in my early 30s, I decided to go and try out the raw vegan diet to see if it can help. And at first it was just an experiment to see, what would happen. And I fell in love with the diet. And over time, over a few years, I was able to reverse the polycystic ovarian syndrome. It did not happen overnight. It was over a few years that I was able to get rid of all the cysts covering my ovaries. My periods came back, I started ovulating again, I got rid of the adult acne, and even my mood started getting better. And plus my hormones also went all back to a normal level. It was fantastic. It was a miracle to me. But the only issue that I then ran into was that I developed a B12 deficiency. And my B12 levels went to a dangerously low level. Okay, like I'm talking like low. When someone's at a deficiency, it's like at 200. Me, I was like down to like 80 something. Okay, it was that low. And usually like a good level to be at is more like 600 or 1,000. Okay, so I was at a dangerously low level. And if anyone has a B12 deficiency, is that they can run into nerve damage that's permanent. You can't reverse the nerve damage. So that was a big like red alert to me. And so I needed to make some changes. And I had the option to either go and get vitamin B12 injections or to change my diet. I had been taking B12 supplements and they weren't working, okay, obviously. And so it was either doing the injections or it was changing my diet and incorporating foods that contain vitamin B12. So pretty much with the vitamin B12 and the foods that contain it, you can be on a vegetarian diet and get vitamin B12. Yes, I did it for 20 years and I had no problems with vitamin B12. I was eating eggs and I was eating dairy products. But at the time when I found out about the vitamin B12 deficiency and was dealing with it was while living in Bali, Indonesia. And here, if you're a vegetarian, the only source of food you're going to get that has a vitamin B12 would be just eggs. Here we don't have dairy cows or any of that. There's no fresh milk available here. So if I were to go back to a vegetarian diet to raise my vitamin B12 levels back up to a healthy range, the only source I could get the vitamin B12 through with my food is with eggs. And I wouldn't want to rely on just one food. No way. And especially eggs, because eggs are not the easiest to digest. And if someone has a deficiency, you don't want to have just one type of food in order to try and raise your levels with. You need to have a nice array of many different types of foods, preparing the foods in different ways, and eating them regularly, in order to counter that deficiency and get your levels back up. You don't want to rely on just one thing. And on the other side of taking injections, I don't like the idea of injecting myself with something every month. And especially living in Indonesia, I don't know what they're injecting me with. I don't trust it. And so I'd rather get it from my food. And that's the direction I went in. So with returning to a vegetarian diet, the only way I could do it would be through eating eggs, and that would be eating a lot of eggs every single day. I wouldn't want to rely on one food. The second thing too is the polycystic ovarian syndrome. I developed the polycystic ovarian syndrome while being on a vegetarian diet. Vegetarian diet is high in carbohydrates, okay? Like you're relying on eating plant-based foods, and on a vegetarian diet, I was eating a lot of whole grains and starches and beans and legumes, all of which is a starch-based food. And for someone that has polycystic ovarian syndrome and myself, I had insulin resistance. So I don't do well on eating a very high carbohydrate diet. That's why the raw vegan diet I did better on, because I was eliminating all the starches. When you're a raw vegan, you're not eating whole grains, you're not eating beans and legumes, you're not eating all those starchy foods. And that's how I was able to heal, was I was avoiding all the starchy foods. Yeah, I was getting some carbohydrates from fruit I was eating, but I was very mindful as to the portions, and I'm sticking mostly with vegetables and greens and nuts and seeds, things like that. So for me to go back to a vegetarian diet and try and raise my B12 levels just on eggs, no, it wouldn't work for me, and I didn't want the polycystic ovarian syndrome to be coming back. That I knew that I had to sort of look at what was working for me and what wasn't, and make an eating style that works for me from that. So it's learning from the past. It's learning from what are the things in my previous diets that worked for me and what didn't, and incorporating that. So now that I'm on a whole food diet, I don't eat, I'm very mindful with the carbohydrates still because of the polycystic ovarian syndrome, and at the same time I know that I need to be eating a good array of different foods that contain vitamin B12 in order to raise my levels. And luckily I've been successful at raising my vitamin B12 levels just through food. Okay, my vitamin B12 levels are still not super high. The last time I checked was about a year ago in the middle of my pregnancy, and I was up to about 300. It's still not incredibly high. I plan in September, I'm going back to Montreal, Canada for 1 month, and there I plan to test my vitamin B12 levels again to see where they're at post-pregnancy. But I do know that based on the past few years of incorporating meats and animal products back into my diet, I've gone from 86 to about 300, which is a good progression. So definitely things are in a good direction. They're not going down, they're only going up. So, and the question is, would I ever see myself going back to being a vegetarian? I don't know. One thing I say is never say never, but I know I just seeing over the years is that my diet is continually changing, and right now, because I just had a baby a few months ago and I am breastfeeding, I can't really base what I'm doing right now is being something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because right now it's about sort of rebuilding my nutritional reserves and just nourishing myself as much as possible, because I am breastfeeding and I am nourishing another human being right now through my own body, which is pretty cool. So it's all about right now nourishing myself and just eating a wide array of food as possible, and then we see what happens. Every day is a different day. So I'm wishing you guys a super fabulous day, and I do want to remind everyone too, if someone wants to do a juice fast, the next 10-day juice fasting program begins next Tuesday, August 5th. Every month I host a 10-day juice fasting program. It's an online program. It's 10 days of doing a juice fast. If you want to do a juice fast and you want to do it as a group, it's something you can do online. I host it, I give support. There's an online forum that everyone gets to chat and talk and compare their fasting experience with, and there's 10 daily videos about the juice fast and doing a cleanse and walking you through everything you need to know about juice fasting. And when you sign up, you get the full guidelines as to what to be drinking every day, what the juice fast is about, how to transition onto the juice fast and transition off of it. And it's a complete great program. And especially for those that have never done a fast before, this is a great way of doing it where you're not doing it alone. And for someone that's done many fasts before, it's fun to be doing it as a group and a special occasion and something where you do get support and just a different way of doing it. So if you're interested in joining the next 10-day juice fasting program, it starts next Tuesday, August 5th, and you can go to my website at radiantcentral.com, click on products, and you'll see 10-day juice fasting program there, and you can sign up there. Have a super fabulous day, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.